Hey, what's up, guys? It's another episode of the Critical Introverts podcast. Might be kind of short because I just have some thoughts about this Ben Shapiro was a Tom MacDonald thing that's kind of happening, and I'm not really. I admit I'm not the target audience for this kind of sound. I mostly grew up on the like the late 80s, early 90s sample based hip hop, like, from Tribe Called Quest to, People Under the Stairs, Mad Lib, that kind of stuff. So sound wise, this isn't really my thing, but overall, I am a fan of this as far as like what like the purpose of this. And I overall like how would you say that, like the overall plan of attack that the Daily Wire is kind of doing with this. Well, I'll say this. Yeah, like sound wise, this isn't my thing. Like I said, it's overall Tom stuff is a little. It's kind of on the what do you call it? Like on the insane clown posse tip kind of shit, but it doesn't need to be for me. And that's kind of a good thing. And as I mentioned, I overall like the direction that the Daily Wire is kind of approaching with all this kind of stuff. We live in a weird age where politics just kind of is culture now. It's pop culture. And I hate that that's kind of the fact, but that's kind of just the reality of the situation. Hold on, let me fix something real quick. There's something weird going on here. Trying to fix this. 1 second. Crap. Oh, whatever. Anyways, so yeah, overall, I like what this is trying to do. What Tom MacDonald is kind of trying to do with blending this kind of stuff, because we're just in this age where politics and pop culture are just a thing now, and look, the cringe level, the douchey cringe level of this is, it's hard to ignore, but I'm okay with that. Look, as I said, I like the approach that Daily Wire's doing. They're aware that to play this game, you have to step outside the normal. You have to do things that the right is typically kind of I don't know if they're bashful or averse to doing this kind of thing, but the right usually just goes over their form of media. Primarily is just kind of talk radio, kind of podcast kind of thing. And I, I'm aware of the irony that this is kind of a podcast. But overall, I try to approach this kind of stuff through a culture lens, through a pop culture lens. And I think, look, there's just, for people like me, and I don't think I'm alone, I think there's a reason why, you know, like this song has plus 4 million, you know, views, or plus more, how much views? Ah, shit. Wow. Well, over 10 million views. I'm sorry. That's just show a little views. There's an ongoing number of people that were fans of general media, whether it be music, movies, what radio, just things like that. And we've been noticing a shift in the priorities that the content has been kind of putting out, rather than focusing on the quality of just being, you know, just being entertainment based. There's been this shift of trying to make things, I think it might be maybe a postmodern thing, but just an attempt to this how do I put this? There is this idea that content, whether it be art, music, movies, should be, and I hate this idea, but I'm just saying it's a growing kind of trend that, like I said, anything that like is art based, music, movies, whatever, it has to be sort of taken more seriously if it has a kind of message to it, a political bent to it. And this is this sort of exploded, I would say probably around, what was it called? Like Gamergate is when it kind of became, it was starting to become a little bit more annoyingly obvious. And which is funny because, you know, I watch older things, stuff from like the 80s, 90s, whatever, and, you know, there is a political kind of nudge here and there on a lot of stuff, but since what would it be, like 2015, would it be? That's when it just it start to get a little bit more annoying and less focused in on gaining general fandom and more on, you know, this is our message, if you don't like it, fuck you, blah blah blah. And that's kind of just, and it really hasn't gotten better. It's only gotten worse, and I think it's going to continue to get worse. Anything like mainstream related is just going to kind of get more into that kind of niche. Even if, you know, and the reality is that that stuff isn't making money, but I don't think that's really the goal. I think there's something more to it. So, with that being said, there has to be a kind of counter narrative to fight this kind of bullshit. And the plan of attack to fight this, this thing that the Daily Wire is doing, and people like Tom MacDonald, I think is actually a right way to go. Because, like, there's gonna be, there is, I don't even want to imagine how much, like, spoken podcast kind of things there is out there. Like, when I open Instagram, there's like another couple shows that are being advertised to me, and, you know, like, I mean, you know, they might be good, I don't know, but it's so hard to keep up with. And I can, and I'm someone who listens to podcasts here and there, but I understand that I'm a niche guy, and you know, I have the patience to maybe listen to a podcast about, you know, philosophy or things like that. And I realize that that is something that the average person thinks that is a complete snore fest. And I'm not, that's not me saying that I'm into the real deal and they're just into crap or whatever. That it's a matter of, what do you call it? It's a matter just of interest. I'm interested in certain things that other people aren't, and that's just, you have to kind of be cool with that. And with the Jeremy Boring, the Daily Wire, um, I think they're probably the only kind of, I don't know, the only kind of group that are trying to do something different beyond just pointing out, just getting on a mic and saying, these goddamn leftists kind of shit. Um, and like, and there's this weird, I understand this weird conundrum that the right is kind of in with this kind of shit. Let me play the video, let the video play it a little bit more. This conundrum of like not being overtly political and focusing on culture, but also you do have to do something to, uh, sort of combat like I'll say this. Like, it's hard for me to like watch regular anything without it kind of just having a sprinkling of kind of some DEI kind of bullshit to it. And it's even if like the story itself isn't kind of sprinkled like that, there's just something within the casting, there's something within like, there's just something within the DNA of that kind of content, and it's just like this constant annoying reminder. So like, so when I see the Daily Wire doing this and they're saying, look, we need to create content and we need to have our values and try to balance making quality entertainment that is palatable for everyone to enjoy, but isn't shy about what their values are. And I think it was like a year or two ago, maybe 3 years, I don't know, right when kind of Biden, the presidency started, the Biden administration first kind of started, there was like a slew of a lot of like, what do you call it, like right wing kind of media, and there was like this bubble of to try to make right wing culture kind of hip again, and and look, and I'm using the term right wing or the right in a much more broader sense than someone who just votes Republican or is a has a MAGA hat on or something like that. I mean, just in the sense of anyone that understands the overall problem and the possible, let's just say danger. I don't know, that might be big of a kind of a scary word, but I'll just use it just for this kind of thing. The overall danger that the popular kind of progressive ideology, or whatever you want to call it, the wokeness, like the direction that that will take, and like that is, if you're someone that has an aversion to that and is somewhat vocal, and like if you disagree, oh, this is another video, but anyways, if you disagree with whatever all the tenets of that, the pillars of all that kind of ideology kind of stands by, like if you have the slightest bit of criticism towards, let's say, the transgender movement, criticism towards the Pride Month thing, the Pride obsession, criticism over public schools, how they're running things, anything like that, George, the BLM, fucking Islam, any of those kind of things, and you understand why not going along with those things, and either you're, I don't even know if it's a thing of that you're necessarily vocal about it, but you don't want to have anything to do with that train of thought. You are just kind of the right. And that's kind of the reality of it. There's none of this is an either or thing. And like, I normally hate that kind of stuff, that way of thinking, but just on this broad wave of categorizing kind of things, that's just the reality of it. Like, you don't have to be someone who votes Republican to see the kind of the red flags that that the mainstream kind of establishment progressive culture is kind of leading us to. Let's go back to this. Just anyways, so like, as I was saying, with this weird conundrum with the right, with all this kind of stuff, when everything is so like infected with the kind of progressive messaging, and everything is, and the messaging is either it's very anti traditional American values. Even in like the softest kind of things, like you know what I mean? It's like everything is kind of sort of villainized, and those things that are villainized are things that people within this broad kind of right, quote unquote right, kind of think are good things. Things like capitalism, family units, tradition, responsibility, these kind of things. Like, if you're not someone who is generally kind of raised, fan of those things, and you're just fresh out the womb, and everything that's message based is telling you that these things are bad, the opposite is good. Like, it's hard to, you can't get a fucking baby, you can't get like a fucking random, a preteen or teenager to like read 12 Jordan Peterson's 12 rules for life or some shit like that. Like, that's not going to happen. So you have to kind of tap into the culture, and you have to make content that competes with whatever the kind of mainstream status quo is. And like, I understand that's it's gonna take a while for the right to kind of know how to do that without it just being like, fucking like rap songs, fucking like the Constitution, y'all, or some shit like that. Some like just embarrassingly douchey shit like that. Um, so I understand that kind of thing, but the but it's hard to how do I say, you can't completely ignore the the values, the politics, the messaging. Um, so it's you have to kind of find a way to find a good balance between the two. And so yeah, so like I'm trying to think. I would say someone like maybe like Eric July and with this whole Ripaverse thing. Um, as far as I know, I think there's nothing really political about the comics themselves, but he himself is unabashed, like unafraid to talk about, his libertarian kind of viewpoints, and he's very, critical of what the status quo is. But it's like the content that is the comic books that he makes are far removed from anything message wise, but you just know that it, because it's comes from him, that it's what do I say this, like, because it comes from him, because it comes from Eric July, who's not ashamed of like his viewpoints. He'll talk about whatever. He's a very smart guy. That he's not he will never kind of bow down to not speak his views. But you know, I will say this too. I don't think, how do I put this? If you're some kind of a creative and you have whatever, you have some kind of like inner kind of Christian values that are generally good. Something like, uh, a value of like self responsibility, something like that. Or if you believe in just traditional American values, the I think the normal temptation for someone is to kind of, to do a storybook, and it's about, Jerry the American bald eagle, and he's fighting for freedom, and oh no, the the red wolf is called communism is his enemy, or some shit like that. Like, I don't think you have to necessarily be that obvious with it. You can just tell a story, but there will be some kind of ingrained values within that story that kind of like, there'll be something within the themes of the story told that will kind of, you know kind of how would you say, have a tinge of like whatever those traditional values that you hold. um and also with the Daily Wire stuff and like their movies are trying to make, and I hope that it really influences other people that, again, broadly speaking, just that are on the right. But I've explained what I mean by that, by the right. I hope it encourages them to start to put out content, and because a lot of this is it's about kind of grabbing the attention of people that have been so kind of plugged in by the whatever the narrative is. You know, if someone has only been kind of absorbed with the whatever the like the Black Lives Matter narrative is, you know that I don't even want to get into it because it's a fucking headache, but you know what I mean. If someone's just been plugged into that all their life, or they've been plugged into that long enough to have that be like the only kind of method of the pattern of thinking that when it comes to approaching issues of race or whatever, if you want to make a story, fuck, I just lost my train of thought. Like, all I'm saying is this, like, I hope this influences, like, this is going to be a slow thing. And like I said, I'm not, like, sound wise, Tom MacDonald isn't really for me, because I've mentioned the type of hip hop, the type of music I'm into. But I like the purpose of this, and hopefully there's like fuck it, like I'm a hip hop dude. There's got to be other hip hop people that are on that kind of the same fandom as me, like that they like that kind of Tribe Called Quest, People on the Stairs kind of that sound. That like 90s sample based hip hop. There's got to be people out there that are in similar positions as in similar kind of have similar concerns culturally as do like Tom MacDonald and Ben Shapiro do. Like there's got to be a you know someone who's a crate digger like myself who also uh, voted for Trump and understands why they voted for Trump and isn't, the villain that the mainstream kind of usually portrays. And like, there's got to be those guys. And I'm curious to know, like, how many of them have considered making content that is also hip hop, but is more on that kind of, like I said, that Dilla, Tribe Called Quest kind of sound. Um, because a lot of this, it's about building a sort of community with all this kind of stuff, and that's another kind of conundrum with the right that is really hard to avoid, because the right is typically much more they're how do you say, they're much more lenient on things of individuality and self-reliance, so it makes pulling together and creating these kind of sense of communities really difficult. um and like, I mean, I even struggle with it, but like part of the reason I started doing this was because I thought, like, I am a guy who I'm kind of a culture nerd in my own little niche. Within the movies I'm into, what, like horror movies, action movies, animated movies, comedies, like I'm a crate digger for the three people that know what that even is. A record collector, funk collector. Um, there's got to be other people that are, have their own little cultural niches they're into, whether they're into anime, comics, maybe they're into fucking, I don't know, like maybe they're really into like film noir uh stories or something like that. Just things like that. And it's easy to kind of lock yourself in and be into your own little niche and turn away from how would you say, sort of, and this is kind of like a thing of like why the left dominates so much, is because the right is all right, you go ahead, I'll be right here kind of mentality. And with building culture, you begin to like build a sort of community. And but with this is like you can build community and that is, I would just say, sort of build a community that is connected to just common values, like their allegiances to their values, and through that kind of builds a community. And on the other side, like the left is kind of the opposite. The opposite is their allegiance is more to the community rather than having a kind of shared sense of values. And look, all I'm saying is, I hope that this is the start of something new. Like I said, I'm trying to start a music show. It's just, you know what? I'll say this. I'm gonna right here. The first episode will be a Valentine's Day episode of my music show. It'll just be love based funk and soul and disco stuff that I have. Um, Again, the hard part of all this is just kind of starting to kind of build culture by creating content. And it is tough to sort of just create content and put it out there. Um, but again, like I like what Daily Wire is doing because they're cranking out content pretty quickly. I don't even know how fast it took them to make the what's it called, Lady Ballers or whatever. Like it seemed like pretty fucking quickly when they churned that out. Not that I've seen it yet, but I'm just saying, like, you have to sort of build culture that um brings people in to bring a community, and but this community is going to be based on shared values. And and like and you have to sort of like not be afraid of the initial cringe factor, you know what I'm saying? Like there's undoubtedly a level of kind of cringe to this Ben Shapiro rapping thing, and I'm not denying that, but um I mean, just go for it. You know what I'm saying? And it is funny to see, just, what do you call it? Mainstream kind of shit their pants over this kind of stuff. Just I googled Ben Shapiro rapping, and there was like a couple articles about Nicki Minaj giving him like daps, like congratulating him. but everything is just like, oh, she slammed for this support, and it's not like she's fucking saying like, yo dog, let's make a song together. Like, she's just saying it's not bad. Oh shit. And of course, you know, the fucking whoever the fuck this, oh, this that is that fucking wait, who is this guy? Or this might be some nobody, I don't fucking know. Yeah, I have no idea who this is. Anyway, who gives a shit? It's just people just reacting to it, and it's about kind of, it's like mainstream is just not going to give the right a platform. That's just not going to happen. So you almost have to like punch your way in, and that's sort of what this is the beginning of. And you know, I overall like it. I hope more of this kind of shit comes around. Like I guess it beat out Justin Timberlake. I didn't even know who he was fucking still doing a thing. But anyways, what the hell? Ice Spice, I think you the shit fart. Is this like a legit song? Oh god, fucking mainstream music is god awful. Anyways, that's all I have to kind of say about that. This next thing I kind of want to talk about. This is just I've never spoke on the like the whatever body positivity movement. I will, but and I never totally cared that much about it because I remember, oof, I remember kind of first hearing about it. It was first kind of, I know the beginning it started from what do you call it, like if you had some kind of disability like a missing missing limb or something like that, not to be ashamed, whatever. And then it sort of geared itself towards like being a bigger person. And the initial thing of like, you know, if you don't have to be a twig to be fine, kind of stuff, that's, you know, that's okay, you know. And like I do like, you know, I'm not a fan of like super skinny girls. I like curvy girls, but it's sort of morphed into something that I'm generally, I would just say I'm very much not a fan of. And I guess let's just watch this little fucking clip because it really is annoying. This is a spokesperson of this movement, and yeah, nothing really is. Wow. Let's just watch this little thing. It's just annoying.
We're plus size travelers. Of course, we think about if we need a second seat before we book a flight.
We're plus size travelers. Of course, we ask for the seatbelt extender as soon as we board the flight.
We're plus size travelers. Of course, we get dirty looks anytime we're traveling.
We're plus size travelers. Of course, we're expected to pay more just to travel comfortably.
I'm beyond.
Oh,
We're plus size travelers. Of course, we think about if we need a second seat before we book a flight.
sorry about that.
Plus size travelers. Of course, we ask for the seatbelt extender as soon as we board the flight.
We're plus size travelers. Of course, we get dirty looks anytime we're traveling.
We're plus size travelers. Of course, we're expected to pay more just to travel comfortably.
We're plus size travelers. Of course, we check to see if there's a customer size policy before booking.
We're plus size travelers. Of course, society doesn't believe we deserve to travel.
We're plus size travelers. Of course, we can't use a tray table on a plane.
We're plus size travelers. Of course, we can't use the airplane lavatory comfortably.
We're plus size travelers. Of course, we think about it.
All right. Yeah. So when I see this kind of attitude, and this is sort of blossomed into just like the body positivity movement, I really, really hate it. I hate because at the core of it, this will be my last thing before I end this. But at the core of this body positivity thing and what it's kind of morphed into, like this lady's view and her fans of this body positivity thing, at its core, it's one that says that rejects just self-responsibility and almost kind of blames everyone else for their own kind of problems. I really do hate it. Because there's nothing positive about just about a movement that views self-responsibility and self-improvement as a negative thing, as a sort of like, you know, an oppressing type of thing. Like, is that what you want? Is if you were to raise a child, do you want to ingrain within them a message of never change, view change as a negative, view self-improvement as a negative? In fact, everyone else is wrong. You're right, never change. Like, that'll just kind of what do you call it? That'll just create a fucking little brat. And I really like, I'm at my ends with this, plus with this whatever movement. It really is just, it's the worst. And you know, like, I guess I'll just end it there. It really is just the worst. I wish I could kind of have more to say on it at the moment, but I'm kind of drawing a blank. Maybe next time I can kind of get more into this. Maybe we can watch a video or two of J Bay, I think is her name. It's hilarious too that this is her introduction video. This is her, like, yay plus size positivity. And she's a fucking breather on. Oh my god. Anyways, I guess I'll leave it there. I guess trying to think if there's any final thoughts. I guess that's kind of it. I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys for watching or listening. Like I said, Valentine's Day I'll have the episode of my music show up. So keep an eye out for that. I'll post links and stuff like that, because again, like I said, the purpose of creating content that isn't just speaking on a mic is to sort of help kind of build a community. And that's what we need to kind of break out of this. A community of, like, a genuine community that is based on actual values and not based on not trying to piss people off, you know what I mean? So yeah, all right, thank you guys for listening. The music show, I might have it on a different channel than this, or maybe the same one, I'm not sure. Because plus also it's YouTube, so like copyright issues and shit like that are annoying on YouTube, so there's that. So if there is, like, cut content on the YouTube, just expect the full content to be on a Rumble page, on my Rumble. And I also have an Odyssey that I've never fucked with. I probably should. Anyways, so yeah, keep an eye out for that. Thank you guys for listening. Go out there, create content, whatever it is. Good luck to you guys. Peace.